Technology has served mothers and babies well in the developed world, with the result that the number of mothers who die or suffer from birth injuries during pregnancy and childbirth has fallen to what are termed irreducible minimums, as they have access to essential obstetrical care, to doctors and nurses and safe, clean facilities in which to deliver their babies. However, we are still in one of the darkest ages of medical history, when mothers in the developing world are being neglected, resulting in over 500,000 dying annually. The risk of a mother dying in Africa is 1 in 13, whereas the risk in Canada is 1 in 7,300. This unimaginable suffering does not take place in a visible way, but occurs in villages, a few at a time. Most die in terror from hemorrhage or in agony from obstructed labor. Sadly, it's estimated that for every death, 30 mothers who survive suffer long-term damage to their health, for example from obstetric fistulae. These arise from damage to the bladder, rectum or both, and consequently the women become incontinent and thus a complete outcast and are rejected by husbands, families, society, simply because they are wet and offensive. They suffer pain, humiliation and lifelong debility if not treated. Worldwide, there are estimated to be 2 million untreated cases of obstetric fistulae, mostly in Africa. These are the greatest tragedies of our times, and it is an international disgrace that so many poor women are being denied their basic human right to special care during pregnancy. Mary was the complete mother and gave total and unconditional love to her son and shared intimately in his life and death. There is a centuries-old devotion known as the 7 Sorrows of Mary, which include events in the life and death of her son. Mary is mother to us all, and thus an 8th sorrow might be added: the suffering of so many mothers who die giving birth to new life, or the millions who, often in despair, destroy their unborn babies. During the last 18 months, the world has experienced an economic crisis almost as great as the Depression of the 1920s and 30s. Although many enriched countries have suffered loss of jobs and pensions, we in Canada have been greatly blessed to live in a country with abundant resources and have been protected from the suffering experienced by those in the poorest of developing countries of Africa who have contributed the least to this crisis and are the least able to defend themselves against the devastating impacts. Lack of basics, food and water and healthcare are the terrible realities of life. The United Nations plea is that the needs of the world's poor be given priority. Unfortunately, many of the rich G8 countries have reneged on their pledges. However, military spending has surged to a new high of $1.4 trillion in 2008, and $8.7 trillion have been spent on bailing out banks during the current economic crisis. The results of these aid cutbacks is that health systems already weakened are increasingly unable to care for the most vulnerable. In October 1995, a group of obstetricians was challenged to breathe life back into maternal health care. The question was how? After prayerful consideration, they took the advice of his mother, given to the servants at the marriage feast of Cana: do whatever he tells you. The result is Motherhood International, born in 1995, has developed a mission to provide, in practice, a culture of life and hope, and a professional voice that promotes the dignity of all mothers, their unborn children, and that of obstetricians too. Mothercare has contributed to the international endeavour to reduce maternal mortality and morbidity rates by 75% by 2015 by developing a model of essential obstetrical care for marginalised rural communities, and introduced it into Nigeria and Ghana in 1997, and presently is introducing it into the Isiolo district of Kenya, which is suffering from a 3-year drought and has poor infrastructure and no health care. Mothercare has conducted research programs, for example, into a treatment for post-delivery hemorrhage. It has developed training programs for traditional birth attendants, midwives and doctors, and built and equipped a fistula hospital in Ghana. It has participated in international forums of church and the international community to advocate for basic justice for women. All of us are challenged to respond to the needs of the poor, especially because mothers matter.